Hey, Cookster here, and welcome to another video. The doors have been primed and blocked. So I'm actually jumping ahead in my intro here. The video I'm introducing today is about wiping the filler on the doors. In this video I've got the doors to my dad's truck. They're all welded up. They're all primed with epoxy primer. They're ready for filler, and then some block sanding, and then ultimately primer surfacer and get ready for paint. But right now I'm about to apply filler, body filler. You can put filler on top of epoxy primer. In fact, I recommend it. It's a good surface. It bites into the metal. The filler will bite into the epoxy. Now I put a lot of filler on bare metal through the years, and it works. It's been done forever. My dad's truck sitting right here. I've ground off filler that I put on almost 40 years ago, just like it was a baby. I put it on. So it's all in the preparation and doing it right. You hear all the horror stories about filler, and there's lots of them. But if you do it right, the way it's intended, you don't have trouble. Anyway, let's get started. I wanted to go ahead and wipe the front edge first, just to get a coat on there before I skim coat. This shell is straight, but there's still some ripples and some wrinkles in it. So instead of trying to find every little ripple and every little wrinkle, especially when you're doing body work and collision repair, you got a bunch of little dents around and ripples. You don't wipe each little spot and try to feather it in. That's a pain in the butt, and it takes a long time, and lots of times it doesn't turn out a good job. So what you do is you skim coat the whole area you're wiping and cut 90% of that filler or more off, and that gets everything nice and feathered in. I've talked about it before. Doing filler work, feather edging is the hardest part for people to learn, and it's the most important part. Because if you come along, you got a bunch of filler and it dives down into a crease or it goes up into a bump where your feather edge, that's where you have your problems. That's where it shows up. I'm going to skim coat the whole bottom area here. You can see the ripples in it from where I had to planish it. So anyway, I'm going to run a skim coat of filler here and a skim coat of filler here. Let it dry, and then I'll come back and I'll sand it with my air sander, which I've talked about before. And for me, I can get it straighter, faster with that. Alright, let's wipe some filler. On big panels like this, make a long pull all the way across. That gets all those extra starts and stops and ridges out of it. So now that I got my filler wiped and it's dry, I'm going to take my air sander. This is the same one I used previously to strip the paint off. I like this flat pad. Come on, stick. I like this flat pad because you got a nice flat surface here to shape with. Just keep the pad flat while you're shaping. Don't gouge, the edges like that, because obviously you'll gouge a hole into it. And you can watch the filler. It takes practice, but I like this method much better than the airfall method. So as you can see, I've got it roughed in pretty short time. Got a pretty high little lump right here, and these are low because of that high spot. Kind of high right here and kind of wavy. You can see the low edge right down here. I'm working my edges with a block so I can see them better, where I had my filler wiped over. Alright, this is starting to look good now. I'm starting to cut through, just barely. This is where I want to stop. I'm going to put the block on it. Here's a very large block. I don't know, 18 inches something. These big long panels, get you the big long block. Make you one or buy you one. It's the Dur block. So I've said in my other block sanding videos, the crisscross is important. because that's how you go over your highs and lows. You don't sand back and forth. You can sand sideways if you want. Do not sand back and forth. Crisscross is the way to go, and that'll work out your highs and lows. Also use your hand to feel, rub over the panel. You can feel highs and lows in it with your hand. Usually it's your non-dominant hand. I'm right-handed, so I use my left hand. And the more you do this, the more practice you get, the better at it you'll get. Take a body hammer, tap that down just a little bit, a couple of high spots poking up. There, I normally use a pick hammer. You can pick down real fine, real lightly where you want to knock down. Alright, you can see where we're just cutting through, all down through here. So this is just a skim coat. I've cut most of that spot's high, I still feel it. I've cut most of this filler that I put on there off. You want to wipe it heavy, but not wastefully heavy, and then cut it all back off and try to get it in one shot. So next I got to do the same thing for the other door. Then I got to come back and wipe the rear edges of both doors. And then wipe the front. This is some fiberglass filler I put in, and then wipe the front with body filler. And then still got the little the dents and places along in here to do. So anyway, let me get the camera set up and we'll wipe some more filler. I'm only going to wipe to right below the door handle, because I don't want to put a bunch of filler in that door handle area that I got to come back and sand off later. So I will wipe that later with a smaller filler, whatever you call this thing, spreader. Thank you. And then come back and work it down. I'm going to talk about this one. I'm going to go to I'm going to this roll here. But I'm going to go anyway. We don't get just make sure you get like tiny candles. No, we have package. Let's go over there. Right, that's side. Because I can see. Now if you noticed on the bottom when I was sanding this, I was able to go side to side. It's just very comfortable, very good way to get this straight. Now I've got to go over this way or front and back. A little more difficult, so just takes practice. I'm happy with that. Hit the edge. This is a piece of 80. I'm just going to hit the edge a little bit. Knock this filler off. Because I got to, the edge is a rolled over edge right down the filler, making a perfect 90. I certainly don't want that. That's why I filed all my edges to get them smooth. Round them over. I have those nice panel edges. Okay, I like that. I'm starting to back now. I'll show you what's going on here. I'm not sure how to show you. You've always seen it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to be watching the video. Anyway, now let's go. I don't know enough. My third grade teacher. My grandma I have. Don't think I have enough stuff in this. Alright, so that's out. I'm not going to do it. Now I'm going to do it. Anyway. And I'm easing in the feather in the back edge. Now I've still got a high spot right here. I can feel a trough in it, so I will cut that down. Alright, we feel really good on that front edge. This is a spot where I nicked into it. Can you see that? Maybe not. Right here is that dark spot I was saying where it's not feathering. So this is low right here. Here's the spot I nicked with a sander. I gotta fill that in. So we're low right here. As I feather back into the door, let me raise the camera back. As I feather back into the door, it's still got a bit of a trough. Right in here, I can feel it with my hand. Very slight, but it's enough that it's coming downhill and doing this. So this is a point where the front door edge is at this height. The skin's at this height along in the middle, and then it dips down still. So I still got some low right here I need to fill in. I'm gonna skim coat the whole door because I've already got a low spot right here. I tried to fill up and I didn't get enough filler in there. It's kind of hard to see it, but it's there. Same thing right here. I tried to fill a spot that was low because I had filler left. All right, let's skim coated this whole panel and then roughed it down with the air sander just to knock the sticky off of it, I call it. And now I'm gonna block it down. So here's where we just started to cut through, and here and here. This is the feather edge in the areas I'm talking about. So a lot of what I wiped on the ends a while ago, I cut off. Not all of it. There's just enough of a skim coat in here to get this panel flat. As I've been saying in my feather edging video, this is a low spot, and I wound up having a low spot here. Trying to wipe these 3 spots separate would have just worked me to death and took forever and still wouldn't have got it good and straight. Skim coat the whole thing, block it, and be done with it. These panels are straight. I do need to re-wipe a little bit right here where I had to do some work. Now all I got to do is wipe the upper sections. Let me swap sides. Because in here is where I had to weld up those holes that we had, or Dad had for the different mirrors. There's a dent or two right up in here, so I got to wipe from about here forward. Again, a bunch of little dents, just wipe the whole thing and block it out. Got to re-wipe here. And then on this door over here is the same deal. Got to welded holes up and a couple dents right through here. So I'm going to wipe from about here forward. And that's it. These panels, door panels, will be done and ready for the primer. So I'm not going to show working this door down, but I did wind up re-wiping the whole thing. I skimmed it. I had a little dent right here, almost in the middle. And once that dent set me right in the middle, I was going to have to wipe into it anyway. And I already had a low spot right here I had to fill up, and I had a low spot right here. So I just skim coated the whole upper panel. I've already talked about it. You know, you got a bunch of little low spots in here. It's much faster, much better, much easier just to skim coat the whole thing and then come back and sand it. This filler's not deep. It's not deep at all. Most of this is going to be sanded off. I wipe this one time, I'm done. This panel is straight. It's ready for 80 grit and some primer. Got a few pinholes I gotta fill, but as far as being straight, this is straight. Now I did kind of negate some of my feather edge and talk because I had intended to have, you know, a section here feathered into here, and then the section in the back feathered into here on both doors. And it turns out the way the panels were warped, you know, they sunk in here, they sunk in here, and in the middle was a little warped too. So it just made more sense to wipe the whole thing. So this door here, feather edged all up into here. You don't see any harsh lines or anything. They're all smooth, you know, smooth transitions now. Like these especially, and this one. Alright, I finished wiping my body filler on my doors. So some ripples where I welded the edge up, you know, here. This is where I welded up those mirror holes. I also had a set of mirror holes I welded up right here, which is the reason this area right here shrank. So yeah, there's a lot of work in this skin. Cutting those skins off and welding them back on is a lot of work, but in my opinion it's worth it for the job I got. These things are prepped for the next 50 years, I hope, for not rusting and all that good stuff. Same thing on the, what is this? This is the driver's door. The bottom was rippled, so I had to wipe it. Same deal. I had the mirror holes here I welded up. So I had to, you know, this was going to shrink. This shrank when I welded, shrank when I welded, shrank when I welded. So again, I just skim coated the whole panel. Was this easier? Same deal, welded up more holes up here, and then a few little ripples back here. All right, I'm about to wipe filler on the door skin or door shell. I just wanted to show the door before I put filler on it. I wiped the filler on the edges of my door shells. So there's a seam right here where I welded the new piece on the bottom. But these are just factory ripples. I just went ahead, and since I was wiping here anyway, I just wiped the whole thing, took those factory ripples out. A little bit of, I did a lot of welding up in here, rust repair, so that's some filler right there. The bottom, all I really did was fix the corners right here. This is where I had to cut all these corners apart and weld them back together and reshape everything. That's not a lot of filler for the amount of work I had to do. So I got my metal work in pretty good shape. There's some of the filler. This is basically just to fill up ripples. And I did a bunch of rust repair also all up in here. But there was some filler. I put some filler here and here to fill some of the worst parts in. But anyway, that's it. That's the filler. All this filler in both doors might be a half a gallon of filler. It looks like it's a whole lot of filler, and it's not. It's not thick. You can see where I'm cutting through a little bit, little ripples, a couple of high spots that I cut down, feathered in here, you know, feathered in. It's not thick in here. It's just enough to skim it and get it flat. The amount of work I had to do to these things, there's going to be some filler, but it's not full of filler, believe me. Alright, so that's the end of the video for wiping the filler, blocking it, getting it straight and ready for primer. The next video, as I said earlier, will be the actual priming and block sanding, and I'm using guide coat. I mentioned earlier I'm still gaining subscribers. Thanks to everybody who's watching. Thanks to everybody that's subscribing. The likes and the comments really do make a difference. So anyway, be sure to do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. If you like what I'm doing, you know, spread the word. And I will catch you on the flip side. Y'all come back now, you hear? Bye-bye.